In this chapter, what I wanted to do is I wanted to go over some of the primitives inside of Modo. And quite frankly, I mean, you can find them in pretty much every single modeling application out there. But anyways, what I wanted to go over is I wanted to go over primitives in this video. And the reason why I wanted to go over them is because, you know, when we model stuff, we want to be able to use primitives to shape out whatever it is that we're modeling as quickly as possible. We want to make sure that we shape out the idea without, bothering with any of the huge multitude of tools that we have available to us. We just want to use only a few tools, and we want to use a few primitives to give us the basic shape, and then we could go ahead and just detail and finish up our models. So let's just go and, what if I was going to create something like a hammer? Well, I could easily go into the geometry, primitive, cylinder, and then I could press Control and left click and drag the cylinder in my viewport. I'm going to go ahead and just zero out the position only because I wanted to make sure that it's on the origin. And then I'm going to press Q to drop. Now this video will go fairly quickly, but mostly because I just want to show you this example of how primitives are useful. So I'm just going to go ahead and just press W. I'm going to extend this handle part of the hammer. I can then very easily go and duplicate this handle and do something else with it. I don't know, maybe use this as the head portion of the hammer. I'm going to just move it over like that. And then I'm going to just select this polygon here. I'm going to use the Bevel tool, and that's also under the basic menu, Polygon Bevel. And I'm just going to bevel, repeat the tool by pressing middle click, move it down like that, and just keep moving it up until, of course, I have the head portion of the hammer. I can easily move stuff around, and then, of course, just keep beveling. Notice that I'm only really using bevel, move, rotate, and scale. I'm really not using any other tools in here, just these very primitive tools. So I have the head portion of the hammer. Next up, I need the part that pulls the, the teeth that pull the nails. So I'm just going to go ahead and just go into like a top view. I'm going to draw out a rectangle. I'm going to extend it, move it up like so. Then I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this cube here, like that. And you know what? I probably might want to make it a little bit thinner for every single one of these teeth. Now, I know that this isn't exactly perfect because I would probably want to mirror these, but for the sake of this example, I'm just really trying to move quickly across this. And of course, now I'm just using loop slice to slice those edges into several pieces. And now I'm going to go to deform. And well, I guess before I use deform, what I'm going to go is I'm just going to go into polygon mode. I'm going to select these polygons here because I want to isolate this tool, the bend tool, to only these polygons. So it's not going to affect any other, element in my model. And what we have here is we have the starting of a hammer. So obviously there will be a lot more work to this. I would have to split things up, connect, I would have to connect a bunch of elements in here. I would have to do things like bevel these edges and stuff like that. But for the most part, the basic shape of the hammer is done for us. I can now go ahead and just select everything in here. I could change the proportions very easily because there really isn't a lot of detail in this hammer. So I could also do things like this, where I could, grab the middle section, shrink the proportion if I don't like it, and, do stuff like that. But again, notice how quickly I was able to make this. I mean, it really only took me a few minutes here to make this basic shape for the hammer. But, it really, it won't take me that much longer to actually go ahead and finish it. So every single one of my objects that I'm going to be modeling, or for the most part that I do model, I usually start like this. I usually create a few primitives, which I can then go ahead and use to shape out whatever it is that I'm going after fairly quickly. And it really does speed up the process a lot, because this way I'm able to shape the entire object quickly, and then I can work on the detail later. the first thing that I'm always concentrating on is the proportions. Is everything fine? The scale and stuff like that. Once I have the proportions and the scale set on any one of my objects, then I will worry about details and sharpening things up. Like for example, if I was going to press tab now, you'll notice that it looks pretty bad. So what I need to do, for example, to make this handle look more like the original, like this, I would need to go ahead and just select these edges here, bevel them in like that, and maybe bevel these edges as well. Like that. So now if I press tab, you'll notice that this looks a lot better. I could of course do the same thing for the bottom of this model. So now if I, again, once I press tab, you'll notice that it's already looking better. Well, now I could do the same thing here. And once again, it's already looking better. Well, what if I do that also across this object? Now you start noticing that everything is just starting to look a little sharper and obviously a lot better. Now all I would need to do now is just connect these objects here together and connect this portion into the main section here. But I'm going to make another video where I model the hammer and I go into more detail. But for now, all I wanted to show you guys is how simple it really is to create stuff like this. I mean, I started off with a cylinder. I used the poly bevel tool to bevel the basic shape. I used the duplicate tool to duplicate the main cylinder to create this. I used the cube to create these, and then all I did is I just used the edge bevel and selected a bunch of edge loops and just used that to sharpen up some details. But really, those are the only tools I used. I really didn't need to go into any kind of detail, and I didn't need to complicate the process for myself. I just kept it as simple as possible. So that's, and all I really used for now is just the cube and a cylinder. Now you have other primitives here too, like for example the cone, and depending on what you're modeling, depending on whatever it is that you're creating, if you're going to be making a tire maybe or a ring, you could very easily just use this torus tool here. Once you're done, you could use this as a basic primitive, but I could very well start deleting portions of this tool that I don't need. Maybe I want something like that. And maybe if I go into here, maybe I could just go ahead and just, I don't know, maybe even delete this like that. And then bevel some of these edges. I can come up with a much different kind of torus very, very quickly. And if I wanted to, I could very well do something like this, where I could select this every second polygon. I could use that pattern and then extrude outwards. I don't know, I got a lot of options. And then of course when I subdivide, I get something like that. But notice how quickly I was able to generate this shape. Now obviously I would have to work this a little bit longer, but for now, I would just want to show you how quickly you can take any one of these shapes and do something useful with it. If I wanted to model an eye, I would just pick a sphere because that's the closest shape, that relates to this, to the eye. I could easily do something like just go ahead and just manipulate this stuff over like that. And then do something like that. Now I could have obviously gone a little bit further with this, where I could have just selected a few of these edge loops, moved down, selected this one here, beveled it with a rounding of 0. and done something like this. So now I have the starting of an eye. So anyways, all I'm saying is that you could very easily use a bunch of these primitives that are available to you under the geometry primitive tab, and you have a number of options here. And if you know exactly what shape you're going after, you can use the closest primitives to start whatever object you're actually modeling. And I definitely recommend you guys to follow this kind of train of thought, mostly because if you're modeling with primitives, then you have the basic proportions set. You know exactly how it's more or less going to look in your final result, and all you have to do is then focus on the detailing process. At the same time, don't be afraid to delete parts. You know, if something's not working, just go ahead and just delete. But yeah, so basically in this video, I just wanted to go over the primitives, how to quickly create a number of shapes. And in the next video, I'm going to go ahead and just go over some of the tools that I'll be using, like for example, edge slice and loop slice and bevel extrude and etc. So that's going to be the next video.